So this is a response to what Cowboy TD was saying about why the BCS does not work. And there are multiple reasons why. First thing I could say is that there's obviously tons of controversy either way, no matter what it is. So that's almost guaranteed that you'll see controversy to it. But here's one of the ones that is that if you're undefeated, you have the right to go to a national title game. Now, the BCS likes to say, "Oh, we forgive us, we get this thing 80% of the time right." But I'd rather see this 100% of the time right, and a playoff system guarantees the true champion 100% of the time, no matter what. And there's no controversy when the New York Giants beat the New England Patriots. Overcame the odds, they deserved the championship. That goes same for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had a good enough regular season. They embarrassed the Chargers, the Ravens, and barely stole that game from the Cardinals, but there's no controversy. They won 3 games after the regular season, and they got it. But in college football, it doesn't work, according to this BCS system. What happens is that an undefeated team is undefeated, but it doesn't mean they're guaranteed the national title, and we want one champion. And they used to be like, "Oh, this is college football. We want a winner and a loser." But it seems there could be 2 winners, as there was in 2003 when LSU shared the title game. They split the national title with USC. It's kind of an empty one because those 3 teams were really good, and one team was snubbed. And that goes the same for when Auburn was undefeated and Oklahoma got killed by USC, and then Auburn was undefeated. Sure, they won close games, but a win should be a win, rather than a win is only a win if you win by 30 points. I do not like how Oklahoma was forced to run up the score. I have nothing against Oklahoma for doing it, but I criticize the system for doing that. They had to run up the score against Okie State, and they made sure they did that the same to Texas Tech, if not Missouri. I mean, you could put in your garbage players when the game is virtually over, but no. Sam Bradford was in there almost the whole time, or he was in there the whole time, and they had to run up the score to make sure they had style points. I don't like the fact that we have to base it on your win is better than the other person's win, or my loss is better than your loss. How you lose in style and lose by like 5 in comparison to 30. A win should be a win, and a loss should be a loss, and that should pretty much summarize it. That sense. The other thing I don't like about the BCS is how biased it is, and they do not let the mid-majors come in. There's 11 mid-major conferences out there, and they pretty much don't let them in the national title game. They're a Division I school in FBS, and all 120 of them should deserve to get in there, no matter what their records are. Whether they're undefeated, they should deserve something, at least a shot at the national title game. And Utah, you all say this is a playoff system in itself, some of you BCS supporters out there. But no, it's not, because Utah was undefeated. They're supposed to advance to the national title game because they won every possible game they could, but they don't get in because it's bias, and that's what the BCS is. The BCS also made sure Boise State did not get to a BCS bowl game. We'll never see 2 majors in a BCS bowl game at the rate we're going. And it's practically wrong in that sense because the Boise State was ranked in front of Ohio State in every poll, but Ohio State was given the at-large bid just because they're a bigger name program. And there's a Buckeye Nation. There's not much of a Bronco Nation out in this country. They all care about money, and they just want the rankings. Sure, the bowl games are good as a consolation for teams who did have a winning record. But for those who have the right and have a good enough record to make a playoff or to win the national title, every team kind of deserves that for those who have enough wins. Now, I have a system of my own that I would propose, and I propose a 16-team playoff system. Why? Because I like the 11 conferences, and I believe they all deserve a chance. At least one school should represent. So here's a proposed thing here. Let me just bear with me. Okay, so as you can see, this is pretty much the my proposed idea for a the playoff system. As you can tell, you can see Texas being the 3 seed, Buffalo being the 16 seed. Every all conferences are represented in this because they're the champions of their respective leagues. Now these are all based on the records at the end of the regular season. This does not include the bowl games. So the at-large bids go to Texas, Alabama, TCU, Texas Tech, and Ohio State. We can use the BCS rankings, and that's perfectly fine for seeding purposes. I see it good as a seeding purpose for the sense of at least giving home field advantage. You know, you say that teams would put in the garbage players at the end of the regular season for the playoffs, but I don't think they would do that because they want the home field advantage. And it's very key, as we know, teams will schedule some cupcakes in their house just to have a guaranteed win. You know, it's hard to win in the Horseshoe at Ohio State, for instance, or at the LA Memorial Coliseum on USC's behalf. Those are some of the toughest places to play out there, and they would want to use those stadiums to their advantage. So that's a pretty good summary of the playoff system. As you can tell, though, that you see Buffalo representing the MAC, Troy representing the Sun Belt, Boise State represents the WAC, the Mountain West is represented by Utah, and also Conference USA is represented by East Carolina. I like it how they are all represented as they should be, and it doesn't, you know, they deserve at least something, some kind of recognition just for winning their conference. If we have in our March Madness tournament, which we actually do have, our March Madness tournament would show that we deserve, at least they deserve a shot because they won the representative tournament, the conference tournament, and each conference mid-major is represented in the big dance or the NCAA field of 65. Sure, that playing game might be terrible, but that's another story. So we play the national title game on a neutral site, and we could actually put the semifinals on a couple of neutral sites. So 3 of the 4 BCS stadiums will be used, and they can rotate each time, making sure that each stadium will get the national title game alternating each 4 years. One stadium will be excluded, but you know, it's okay. Now the other thing is that I still believe in having some bowl games for those who got 7 or 8 wins or 9 because they still deserve something just for getting a winning record. But each team here should be paid a little bit more, and each team should be paid equally rather than separating just because they're a mid-major or they're a big-time program. So all the teams should be paid equally who make the playoffs, and maybe you get more for winning the national title or something. But they should all have at least a consolation just for making the playoffs. And you know, Utah, as you can see, is the 6th seed here, but they deserve a shot just like anyone else, and they can prove their point. So the BCS polls are good. Just the poll system would be good for seeding, and teams would still be winning just for that, in that sense. So back to the conversation here. That is pretty much my summary of the BCS and why I think it's terrible is the money and the bias, if not not enough exposure. And it's not really a playoff system in itself because it bases things on the most recent game, and they treat a game set in week 5 as ancient history, like the Red River Battle. So you need to base the whole season enough to make the playoffs, and then when it's the playoffs, we can win out and win it all because there'll be no controversy. Whoever wins those games in a row consecutively deserves to be the champion when they win those 4 games. So it's understandable that I know some UBC guest guys like it, but I don't. So peace out, and that's it.